The purpose of Pokemon games have always been to have fun. Whether it's collecting for the Pokédex, catching shinies, or bringing Blaziken to a beauty contest, it's all because you have fun with it, right? But we cannot escape how the entire franchise revolves around being the very best like no one ever was. And to do that, you need to essentially win the Pokemon League and become world champion. To become the real-life Pokemon champion, you need to qualify through in-person tournaments called regionals or international championships. Luckily, we've always had our guiding star from the TV show Ash to guide us. He has shown us time and time again that you don't necessarily need to bring strong Pokemon or be the best Pokemon trainer to succeed. First of all, you need a strong bond with your Pokemon that you want to use. Enter DankeyChan. Topping leaderboards and winning unofficial tournaments is not enough for him. He wants to become the very best. And he wants to do it with his trusted companion, Alolan Sandslash. DankeyChan has trusted in his Alolan Sandslash for a long time, even before it got its recent move update. Sandslash has always had amazing offensive coverage with Shadow Claw, Ice Punch, and Bulldoze. So DankeyChan made a team for the Malmö Regional tournament, and he built around Alolan Sandslash and its incredible offensive coverage. To succeed with A-Slash, you need to account for its glaring weaknesses. That's why DankeyChan built his team with Medicham to cover for the fighting weakness of A-Slash, and also Water Gun Lantern to cover for its fighting and ground weakness. As fire types weren't popular at the time being, DankeyChan felt comfortable bringing Trevenant and Galarian Stunfisk to the tournament as well, and rounding off the team with the safest Pokemon of them all, Noctowl. In the first game, DankeyChan faces off against an unconventional team with Double Steel and Double Flyer. Apart from the Medicham, Alolan Sandslash looks very promising, and he decides to try a strategy to lure out the Medicham with his Galarian Stunfisk, so he can sweep with A-Slash. He gets the perfect lead with Medicham into G-Fisk, but his opponent swaps in his own Medicham. DankeyChan, who's double weak to Medi in the back, has no option but to stay in. But that also means A-Slash gets to avoid Medicham this game and can clean up in the end. 1-0 for the Hedgehog. In game 1, Dankey opened himself up for a Trevenant lead, as both Medi and G-Fisk has a hard time with it. So in the second game, Dankey makes a hard read about the opponent leading Trevenant, sending out his trusted Sandslash to the front lines. He gets the call correct, and has read his opponent's mind. And he plays Medicham expertly against G-Fisk, throwing the final move on CMP to bring as much energy into the next matchup as he possibly could. The opponent has no way around the angry Hedgehog if he cannot get Medicham onto it, which he's not able to in this game either. 2-0 Hedgehog. In round 2, DankeyChan is facing off against an incredibly tough opponent, called DC Vulpix. They have a long record of performing well in a lot of different tournaments, so DankeyChan must start the analysis immediately. Vulpix is bringing Obstagoon, carrying the fast move counter. There is no harder counter to Alolan Sandslash in Pokemon Go, and its chances to come are looking bleak. Until DankeyChan realizes that Obstagoon is the only safe answer to both A-Slash and G-Fisk. In game 1, Dankey gets the worst lead he could possibly face, with his Medicham lined up against Trevenant. He swaps in G-Fisk to at least lure out the Obstagoon, so he can pray for Sandslash to save the day yet again. He notices that his opponent is throwing Night Slashes instead of the more effective Cross Chop into his G-Fisk, as he lands an Earthquake himself. As they CMP tie for the second move, the second Night Slash from the Obstagoon barely does not knock out. G-Fisk lifts to get off his own Rock Slide, and his opponent decides to not shield. As he loses switch advantage, Dankey can now get A-Slash the Hedgehog onto Trevenant and Medicham against the Lantern. Yet another game for Sandslash to seal the victory! In game 2, Vulpix benches the Obstagoon, and Sandslash is having a field day. Facing off against Noctowl in the lead, the opponent has to swap out. A-Slash's best bodyguard Medicham comes out to handle the G-Fisk, and as both Lantern and Sandslash can handle the Noctowl, Dankey decides to swap the Medicham back out. I want to pause here for a second to point out Dankey's awareness. He realizes that if Obstagoon is hiding in the back, it would cause a hell of a lot of problems for A-Slash and Lantern with Medicham gone. As both Lantern and A-Slash can handle the Noctowl in the front, DankeyChan decides to save his Medicham to safeguard for a potential obstacle. As he was soon to find out, there was no obstacle in this game, but an opposing Lantern. Even though saving the Medicham wasn't necessary in this battle, it shows what kind of battler DankeyChan is. And the Lantern was not enough to stop the Hedgehog from grabbing its 4th consecutive victory. The opponent for round 3 does not have Medicham or a fire type, so Alolan Sandslash is free to roam. DankeyChan sets it up to sweep through his opponent's team twice. Going into round 4, DankeyChan and his A-Slash is now 6-0 in an unbeaten run. And I start to feel like a broken record, because yet again, Medicham is the only really bad matchup for Alolan Sandslash here. Although Swampert can cause some problems for it as well, with some energy or shields, Alolan Sandslash is a menace. In game 1, DankeyChan catches the Medicham in the lead with his Lantern. The opponent doesn't want to swap out to get his Ninetales on the Lantern and Noctowl on the Sableye. So when the dust settles, A-Slash can wipe the floor with the Sableye and the Ninetales in the back. Game 2 goes similarly, only this time the opponent benched the Medicham for Swampert. A-Slash sweep both games yet again! DankeyChan is now up 8-0 and hasn't dropped a single game all day, bringing his trusted Alolan Sandslash in all 8 games. And now remember, this was from before Sandslash was good! With his incredible run, DankeyChan is now in his group's final. He's matched up against Bibelicious, a name you fear in Pokemon Go. Bibelicious has only been to one tournament before, as he was the runner-up in Arlington, and he went undefeated until the Grand Finals. Bibelicious is running a Shadow Ice type of his own, his team's mascot Abomasnow. DankeyChan recognizes that Bibi has core breakers for all of his preferred Pokemon, and it's tough to come up with a safe game plan. He gets the worst lead he could ask for game 1, but his G-Fisk safe swap is solid. Bibelicious realizes that he must preserve his Sableye and eventually sends in Abomasnow against the G-Fisk. It costs him a shield, but it keeps alignment. Eventually, DankeyChan isn't able to overcome the tough lead he faced, and he ends up losing his first game of the tournament. In game 2, DankeyChan decides to bench his Alolan Sandslash for the first time this tournament, as he leads Noctowl into Sableye. Bibelicious swaps out into his own Medicham, and DankeyChan is in an excellent position. We're going to pause a couple times during this battle to look at some exciting details. Medicham and Noctowl both have a 2-turn fast move, and they reach their charge moves after 12 turns. When 2 Pokemon with the same duration fast move throw a charge move, the opposing Pokemon's fast move comes through, as it's thrown on turn alignment. But when Medicham switches into Noctowl like this, Medicham is 1 turn behind because the switch takes a turn. Here, DankeyChan again demonstrates his awareness by capitalizing on the 1-turn switch and throws his Sky Attack immediately. Because if Noctowl lets the Medicham throw their charge move first after switching in like this, Medicham catches up the turn it was behind. After a charge move animation, the fast moves sync up and start simultaneously. So instead of capitalizing on the 1 turn you were in front, you give the 1 turn back. That's why sometimes you want to throw your charge move immediately. Next, DankeyChan catches an Ice Punch meant for Noctowl on his own Medicham. You can see on Bibelicious' face that nothing is going according to plan. That's why he decides to give himself a way out with a bit of an unconventional play. He saves his Medicham last second to get his Sableye in. Dankey has to let his Medicham go, but Noctowl easily takes out the Sableye. When Lantern comes in, he can safely switch into G-Fisk, and all he needs to do is to land an Earthquake on the Lantern. And now we must focus on the details again. DankeyChan is always waiting 1 turn to throw his charge moves against his opponent's 2-turn fast moves, to avoid Bibelicious catching the charge moves on Pokemon they weren't meant for. For instance, like this, where DankeyChan waits 1 turn to throw the Earthquake into the Lantern, which Lantern shields up. Bibelicious recognizes this, so he keeps track of G-Fisk's energy and right when it gets to the Earthquake, he waits one turn to wait for DankeyChan to wait one turn and catches the Earthquake on his nearly fainted Medicham. What can DankeyChan do? His G-Fisk will lose CMP to Lantern, so he catches the Surf on his Noctowl. The crowd is going wild, and you can see both players' reactions, but Babylicious shows why he is feared by all trainers. He understands that he must build up more energy on the Lantern, so he undercharges the Surf to spark down the Noctowl. He doesn't even swipe a single bubble. That lets him win the CMP against G-Fisk in the end, and he nets a 2-0 victory over DankeyChan. I had front row seats to this game. Let me show you how it felt to be there. With his first loss of the run, DankeyChan goes into his losers bracket. In a double elimination setup like this, you have the undefeated players playing each other, and the players with one loss each knocking each other out from the tournament. In his group's final, DankeyChan is faced up against Stone Collection. Looking at Stone Collection's team, Trevenant is very safe, and DankeyChan plays it with his trusted Alolan Sandslash 2 games in a row. First game, he gets an incredibly favorable lead into the Shadow Dragon area. He manages to keep alignment with Medicham against Registeel to put his Trevenant onto Stone's Medicham. With Sandslash in such a favorable spot, the Sandslash even takes out the Medicham to win Game 1. Game 2, DankeyChan runs the same team, and Sandslash beats a Zoom roll without any of them spending a shield. He saves his Sandslash to let it take out the Shadow Sableye, and Trevenant takes out the Medicham in the end. 2-0 for Dankey, and he's qualified for Day 2. Only the top 8 players are qualified for Day 2, and DankeyChan is faced up against a tough Swede called Galax Kobolton. Game 1, DankeyChan brings his strongest neutral picks, with G-Fisk, Lantern and Noctowl facing Umbreon in the lead. Lantern is looking quite safe for Galax, apart from the Trevenant, as he is running Spark on his. DankeyChan realizes that he would struggle against Spark Lantern in the back, and swaps in his own Lantern trying to lure it out. Luckily for him, there was no Lantern, and the combined strength of DankeyChan's picks proved too strong and too much to handle for Galax in Game 1. As Galax went triple strong against Trevenant in Game 1, DankeyChan gambles it was to scare it away for Game 2 and throws it out in the lead. It does not work out too well, as Galax sends out his Umbreon again. In a surprisingly close game, DankeyChan does not have enough fuse in the tank to turn the game around, and the score is 1-1. In Game 3, DankeyChan gets the read, leading Medicham into Umbreon. Expecting the Sableye in the back, DankeyChan decides to stay in with his Medicham to win against the opposing Medicham safe swap. That ensures him to get his Noctowl onto Sableye in the endgame, and together, it and G-Fisk takes the game home for Dankey. Advancing to top 6, DankeyChan now faces off against the Yellow Ripper. Sandslash now makes a return in the lead, facing off against Registeel. In a match that shifts back and forth the entire game, DankeyChan gets a crucial Ice Punch bait off against the Lantern to land the Bulldoze. With all the energy he's built up on his Noctowl, he manages to take out both Lantern and the Registeel with a flying powerhouse to clutch out Game 1. What in the world is stopping this guy? Not the Yellow Ripper. DankeyChan gets a positive lead and is in control the entire game. Yet again, he closes it out with his trusted Noctowl, who has done a lot of heavy lifting in Day 2. If DankeyChan wants to qualify for Worlds, he must earn a spot on the podium. That means at least top 3. As he's already secured top 4, he only has one final obstacle to get over to qualify. And that obstacle is called a Mind Joke. A Mind Joke is a very experienced battler, and he's also running the Alolan Sandslash. DankeyChan's Water Gun Lantern is incredibly safe against the Mind Joke, who does not have a water resist on his team. And Sandslash put on a lot of pressure with either energy or shield advantage. Can Sandslash pull through yet again for DankeyChan? Game 1 starts off in a mirror Noctowl matchup, but as a Mind Joke is scared of a potential Trevenant in the back for Dankey, he swaps in his Medicham. DankeyChan takes a shield and positions his A-Slash to sweep the game after the Medicham is gone. Just one more win for Dankey to qualify. And you'd love to see that Game 2 starts off even better, with Lantern into knockdown. Amanjo comes in with his Medicham again, and DankeyChan answers with his knockdown. This matchup is better for Medicham than you'd expect, but Dankey comes through. Keeping alignment, it's looking good, but without a clear response to the Shadow Swampert, everything can still happen. As Swampert takes out Medicham, DankeyChan must protect his Lantern against a potential Earthquake. The next incoming Hydro Cannon plus Shadow Ball from the knockdown is not enough to take out the Lantern, who secures DankeyChan his trip to Japan. DankeyChan has come all this way in his first ever tournament, carried by his trusted companion, the Alolan Sandslash. Apart from the loss against Bebelicious, Dankey has only lost a single game the entire tournament. Simply incredible and one of the best runs so far in history. DankeyChan now faces Bebelicious again in the semi-final. But already having achieved this goal, he takes his foot off the gas and loses the game 3-0. But he is not bothered. Imaginary hats off to DankeyChan for an amazing performance in his first ever tournament and a terrific run. I'll see you in Yokohama, Dankey.